brought it back. We take a look through the history of the Montreal Canadiens. We try to put together a starting lineup of the best Canadiens players from a particular era, the 1970s, arguably the greatest era in this team's history, some of the greatest dynasties in pro sports in this decade. Andrew, who's in your starting lineup?
Well, last time we did a question like this, I read it incorrectly, and I thought we were talking about which players from that era would make the all-time Canadiens team. So I was completely unprepared. But this time I read the question properly.
There you go.
So I actually
there
have
you
a
go.
team. So obviously Guy Lafleur, because you're not going to do this without Guy Lafleur. Jacques Lemaire in the middle. And I was torn between Pete Mahovlich, Steve Shutt, and Yvon Cornwallier, but I have to go with Yvon. I have a soft spot for him. Always liked that player. I grew up watching old games with my grandpa, and I was always attached to the Roadrunner. And I know he was my dad's favorite player growing up too, so I have him in there. On defense, Serge Savard and Larry Robinson, and in net, right there, he's on the wall. Not going to go against that.
No way, you don't have to. What about? I believe it's Stu next.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned this on this show before. I graduated high school in 1980, dating myself. My 5 years in high school, the Canadiens won 4 Stanley Cups. It was an annual event to go to the Stanley Cup parade. And I think I also told the story one year that a buddy of mine, I said, "You coming to the parade?" He says, "No." He says, "I'll go next year." And he did.
Yeah, he went next year.
He went next year. That's the way it was back in that generation. So starting from net, Ken Dryden, obviously, the goalie. Defense, well, you had the big three, right? You had Savard, Robinson, and Lapointe. I got to put Guy Lapointe because Guy Lapointe was my favorite Canadiens player when I was a kid. I loved Guy Lapointe. I remember going and buying a white Canadian hockey stick like the one he used and not taping the blade because he didn't tape the blade. My 2 favorite players when I was a kid were Bobby Orr and Guy Lapointe. And Guy Lapointe was my favorite. So I'm putting Guy Lapointe with Larry Robinson, which makes it almost unfathomable that Serge Savard is not on the team.
Yeah.
And then
we understand.
Up front, I got to go with Lemaire between Shutt and Lafleur. I mean, talk about a perfect line. The defensively responsible center, the high-flying winger, and Steve Shutt, who doesn't get enough credit. Everybody said he was like a garbage goal collector. You don't score as many goals as he did in the NHL with all of them being garbage. That was a heck of a line. But, I mean, the guys you're leaving off, I mean, Serge Savard, the Mahovlich brothers, both of them, Pete and Frank, Yvon Cornwallier, who you mentioned earlier, Bob Gainey. I mean, I was so fortunate to grow up, be a teenager in that era, and we were so spoiled. I mean, they were just amazing, amazing hockey teams and amazing hockey players.
Well, since you're coming into the era that I played, and the guys that I'm going to mention were big contributors to my minus 41 that I achieved when I was in Washington.
Oh man!
I have to put Cornwallier in there because he did go by me a few times and make me look silly. Jean Beliveau, I didn't have the opportunity at center. Guy Lafleur, of course, was a special player, as we all know. And then you got to go with the Big Bird Robinson and Big Savard back there on the blue line with Dryden in the net. And that group, along with so many others back in those years, and like I said, that I had to try and survive against being on the ice to try and stop these guys from scoring was virtually impossible, but lived to tell about it. And just some great guys and some great souvenirs, both good and bad for those names mentioned.
Yeah,
I like the. Oh, go ahead.
Rick brings up Jean Beliveau. 70-71 was his last season, and I think that's just how many amazing hockey players we were fortunate enough to see back in those days at the Forum.
Absolutely, 76 points in 70 games in his final season. Like, that might be enough to put him on any of these lists, honestly. And you know what? Since no one did it, I mean, Rick kind of sort of mentioned him there. Why not? I'll throw him in there. I'll put him with Guy Lafleur and Yvon Cornwallier and Serge Savard, Larry Robinson, and Ken Dryden. I feel like for almost all of these ones that we've done so far, like it's like the goalie seems to be the easiest position to pick. I can't think of an era where it was hard to pick a goalie. But Ken Dryden. Obvious pick here. Now I'm curious, Andrew. So the photo behind you, you have Ken Dryden there. I'm trying to make out who's the player on the right.
That'd be Nick Suzuki.
That's interesting. So it is Nick Suzuki. Okay. I was wondering. I was like, that's a 14. Is that 24? Is that could be Nick? That could be someone else. But pretty cool.
Yeah, this one was commissioned by Nick's parents, actually, from Dave Murray, who created both.
Really?
Of these. Yeah.
Really? Wow. You learn something new every day, especially with every episode that we do on Hockey Inside Out. Let us know in the comment section who would be in your starting lineup of Montreal Canadiens players from the glory years of the 1970s. Subscribe to the YouTube page. We'll always have more fun stuff there. And visit hockeyinsideout.com for full episodes. And the Hockey Inside Out newsletter, montrealgazette.com/newsletters, is where you should go to subscribe.